It's that simple. With AmeriFactors, there's no more waiting for your customers to pay. We give you the funds up front, then we wait for your customers to pay us. Fund your business today. Call AmeriFactors right now.
800-847-1183. 800-847-1183. 800-847-1183. That's 800-847-1183.
Welcome to Picks and Parlays Radio here on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network. I am your host, Chelsa Messinger. You can find me every day on Twitter. My handle is just my name, @Chelsa Messinger. And also check out Picks and Parlays on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We stream the show live every weekday, and we also have all kinds of fun stuff on all of those social media platforms. If you search Picks and Parlays on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, we're really easy to find. And we also appreciate your feedback. We've got a great show lined up on this Tuesday, September 10th. Monday Night Football wrapped up. I believe it's week one. I believe Monday Night Football counts as week one in the NFL. So the NFL put a bow on week one with two games last night. Raiders winning over the Broncos 24-16, and the Saints beating the Texans, outlasting them in a wild finish 30-28. So both the favorites didn't cover. Judging by the lines that I got, the Raiders, I mean, I don't think anybody thought that they were going to do anything, especially with the Antonio Brown scandal that's been brewing for the past couple of weeks. But somehow John Gruden's squad is 1-0, and I suppose that's all that matters. Saints and Texans. Everybody thought that the Saints, you know what, Saints at home, they're really good. Although the Saints in openers have not been great statistically, the Texans took it down to the wire. And if you had Texans money line in that game, my heart goes out to you because that was a tough loss. We've also got college football on the docket today. A couple of games that are good rivalry games because this week has 0 top 25 matchups, but that doesn't mean there's not going to be good football, and that certainly doesn't mean there's no money to be made. Same can be said for baseball because we've got daily action when it comes to our MLB picks, and we've got a couple winners on deck for you guys. College football, I think, will be interesting this week. Pitt and Penn State, Iowa at Iowa State. Those are two big rivalry games. Penn State is favored by a lot over Pitt. So I think the issue for them is can they cover. Iowa State and Iowa, I believe that's almost a pick'em game. Always a great rivalry. And we've got plenty of analysis and ways to bet those games coming up on today's show. As I mentioned, a lot to get to. And after the break, we're starting off, lead off with baseball with Chip Chirimbus. We're back after the break on Picks and Parlays Radio.
Staples gives your business more for less.
It's where I get more peace of mind knowing my ink is in stock. It's where I get more done with my day because I'm in and out fast. And where I get more savings since it's always low priced.
And now, buy one HP ink cartridge for your HP OfficeJet Pro printer and get a second 30% off. Plus, get free overnight delivery on HP ink at staples.com. Staples, for all your business essentials and beyond.
Ends 9/14/19. Restrictions apply. Free delivery excludes holidays and weekends. Order by 5 p.m. See staples.com/HPBOGO or store for details.
Honey, I just switched the family to Boost Mobile and we got so much more.
Awesome. Like what?
We got 4 free LG Stylo 5 phones for the whole family. 4 lines for just $25 per line per month with unlimited gigs. I smashed up the car a bit. And they have a super reliable, super fast nationwide network.
Whoa, 4 free LG... Wait, back up. Did you just say you...
4 free LG Stylo 5 phones? Yep.
No. Something about the car?
Oh, you mean Boost super reliable, super fast network.
Before that, the car smashing thing.
What? The smashing deal we got. 4 lines for just $25 per line per month?
No. Between the 4 lines for $25 per line per month and the unlimited gigs part, you said I smashed up the car a bit.
I did. It's completely smashed. We need a new vehicle. But 4 free phones.
Boost Mobile, the switch that gives you more. Offer ends 9/16/19 or while supplies last. Requires 1 port from eligible carrier and activation. 1 free device per line. Includes mobile optimized data. Additional terms and restrictions apply. Offers and coverage not available everywhere. See boostmobile.com or retailer for full details.
Want to fly somewhere? Looking for cheap flights or cheap tickets? Then call That's right. Call the low-cost airline travel hotline now for prices so low we can't publish them anywhere. Low-cost airlines has all kinds of cheap travel deals. Fly domestically and save up to 75%. You can even fly internationally and save even more. Yes, fly anywhere in the world and save a lot of money on your plane tickets. We'll even save you money with cheap travel deals on hotels, rental cars, even complete travel packages. So don't book your tickets until you call us first for the absolute cheapest prices on U.S. and international airline tickets and hotels. Call right now for prices so low they can't be published. Travel experts are here 24/7 to help. 800-754-4531. 800-754-4531. 800-754-4531. That's 800-754-4531.
Hall of Fame catcher Johnny Bench for Blue Emu. Hemp oil is everywhere, but not every hemp oil product is made the same. Now introducing Blue Emu Plus Hemp Oil. Why not trust the Blue Emu brand that has been the #1 selling emu oil brand for over 5 years? Blue Emu Plus Hemp Oil has been organically grown. It is pesticide-free, non-GMO, made in the USA, and most importantly, odor-free.
Order Blue Emu Plus Hemp Oil today on Amazon or the Blue Emu website.
Welcome back to Picks and Parlays Radio here on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network. I am your host, Chelsa Messinger. You can find me here every day, 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern, and also on Twitter at Chelsa Messinger. Also check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Picks and Parlays. If you search us, we're really easy to find. We've got Chip Chirimbus joining us for our leadoff segment of some baseball because, believe it or not, it still is baseball season. Yep. I know everyone loves football, but there's still plenty of money to be made when it comes to MLB.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, you know, Chelsea, I actually was a leadoff hitter in my day as a player. You know,
steal any bases?
Yes, I was a switch hitter, very quick. But baseball right now, it's coming down to crunch time with the wild card berths at stake here, and we have teams who were expected to get there, Chelsea, like Philadelphia, who was the favorite, who's scrambling for a place, and they're playing against the hottest team in the National League right now, the Atlanta Braves. I mean, the Braves have been running off streaks. We were talking about how baseball is a game of streaks, and they had run 7 or 9 in a row. But Chelsea, they've won 57 of the last 83.
They're the hottest team in baseball since the break.
They may actually be a huge contender in the National League to take the Dodgers down, who everyone expects to walk over.
Well, because in baseball, it's all about getting hot at the right time. And it seems like the forces are aligning for the Braves because traditionally the Braves have been really good in the regular season, but when it comes to the postseason, they seem to crumble. So hopefully for Braves fans and those tortured Atlanta fans, you know, hopefully things turn around for them. But let's get back to
well, they have a very underrated pitching staff. They have Max Fried going today, 16-4. You have Keuchel, who's now been added to the staff, and Soroka. Those 3 guys are putting this team in a situation where they really don't have the pressure to score a lot of runs, and yet they have a great lineup.
I was going to say they don't even need to because their lineup has been so hot that they've been. I mean, their weakness has been their bullpen and their starting rotation in some of those games because when it comes after their number 3 starter, there's been some rotation when it comes to their 4 and 5 starter. Even though last night we saw a really good start from Mike Fultonevich, who was an all-star last year, but he spent time in AAA this year.
Yes, he struggled this season, no question about it. Maybe it was a sophomore jinx, but if he comes back to form, they're really going to be formidable. Now they're up against Jason Vargas and the imposter Philadelphia Phillies. We know our main man from Las Vegas, Bryce Harper. He's in and out. His wife had a child, or I guess the family had a child. Missed a little time, but Vargas has been very inconsistent. He's had 4 starts, Chelsea, where he only gave up 2 runs, but in the other 3 starts, he's given up like 14 runs. So the odds here, $1.65 on the road, I think they're telling you prohibitively the Braves are the side here. Philadelphia's 3 games in back of the Cubs. They need this game desperately, but I don't think they have enough.
Minus 165 is kind of high odds.
Huge. I wouldn't lay it myself personally, but it would be the side.
Would you consider a run line bet?
I don't like to play that, Chelsea, because I hate to have a team that I think is going to win the game, and I lose the bet. I just don't like playing the run line. I'm sorry. So I would pass myself personally, but if I had you put a gun to my head and force me to make a selection in this game, I'm going to lay Atlanta because they are right now the much better baseball team.
Right, and Jason Vargas has had issues going past 5 because he has been decent sometimes. It's just the issue is that he doesn't go deep in games, and sometimes you don't know what you're going to get when it comes to this Philadelphia.
He was abominable in New York. He had 7 starts now with Philadelphia, and they've won 4 of those 7 starts. So he hasn't been absolutely horrible, but like we said, inconsistency is his problem right now.
Right. Okay, so let's move on to the Mets and the Diamondbacks. Zach Wheeler going for the Mets. He is 10-7 with a 4.33 ERA, 4-1 with a 3.42 in 8 starts since coming off the IL. Zach Gallen going for the Diamondbacks. He came over from the Marlins, and man, what a pickup he's been. 2-1 with a 2.25 ERA since coming over from Miami, and that's not a name a lot of people know, but they might know soon because he's been doing big things for the Diamondbacks in this team that nobody really expected to be competing. We were talking about this before the show. How last season the Diamondbacks were kind of all in and just crumbled in September, but this year it's been young guys, but somehow the Diamondbacks are right in the thick of things when it comes to the wild card.
They're 6 games over 500, or 2.5 in back of the Cubs for that wild card spot. The Mets are 4 back, and like we said, they got rid of Goldschmidt, they got rid of Greinke, and here they are, and they're still competitive here.
Right.
I think it's a great tribute to them and to their effort, of course. But this Zach Gallen, like you mentioned, he's been unhittable since he's been here. I mean, he's gone 68 innings, only given up 52 hits. But in Chelsa, in his last 19 innings, he's only given up 12 hits. And that's really mowing him down.
Right.
Now people that get on base. His ERA is 2.5. And, conversely here, we have Zach Wheeler, who we saw out here in Las Vegas. Well, you weren't here at the time, but I saw him a number of times out in Las Vegas for the 51s. But he's 10-7 with a 4.33 ERA because the Mets have given him a lot of support in his starts. He's got almost 6 runs a game. 3-1 against Arizona overall with a 2.82 ERA. And I think Chelsa, that's why the Mets are a $1.35 favorite here. But, I wouldn't mind taking a piece of Arizona here, a little bit of an underdog. I think they're a live dog here with Gallen on the mound. And I'm really not a big supporter of Wheeler as of yet. I think he's been way too inconsistent, much like, say, Vargas said we were just spoken about.
That last stat kind of worries me, the 3-1 against Arizona.
I think that's why the line is as high as it is, because the Mets have really fallen back.
The Mets are favored in this one.
Right. The Mets are
they're
favored.
At home, too.
Yeah. And, they've fallen back since they had that great rush. I mean, they got the high of 6 or 7 games over 500, and now they're back to 73-70. Big game for the Mets. Big game for Arizona as well. Wild card implications either side. I lean toward taking the dog here. I would take the Diamondbacks if I was to play the game.
Right, and you get a little value, and I think that's, even if it was a pick-em, I think the Diamondbacks would be right in it. Let's move on to the Giants and the Pirates, Johnny Cueto, he of the funny motions, who tries to throw off all these people. First MLB start since July of 2018.
Think about that.
So kind of a wild card for the Giants, but he is 20-4 with a 2.19 ERA and 30 career starts against the Pirates. However, I mean, that's over the years, and that's different Pirates teams. So I don't know how much stock you can place in that.
You said he's the wild card for the Giants, but there's no wild card implication in this matchup between the Giants and the Pirates. Don't be misled by that. No, and the pitching matchup, I mean, Johnny Cueto's got to be the storyline here. I mean, he hasn't pitched, like you said, since a year ago, July. But, in his last 8 starts at home, believe it or not, San Francisco has gone 1-7 in his last 8 home starts. That's good, dating back to last year. And San Francisco is now 4-10 in their last 14 overall. But Chelsa, they get to face Mitch Keller,
who's 1-3 with an 8.18 ERA.
8.18 ERA and an 11.21 ERA on the road. He's given up 50 hits, Chelsa, in only 33 innings. And in his last 8 starts, Pittsburgh has managed to win twice. That's still only a 25% ratio. I don't see it. But, you have to be afraid of Cueto here because, how long is he going to go? Right? And in his last 10 starts at home, as a matter of fact, they've gone 7-1-2 to the over. And he's 6-0 to the over in his last 6 starts. And overall, the Giants at home against a team with a losing record. I dug this one up, Chelsa. They're 16-5-3 against teams with losing records at home going over the total. Pittsburgh 9-3 in their last 12 over. On the road. We're going to play Pittsburgh and San Francisco to go over the total. Weak pitching on San Francisco. Weak pitching on Atlanta. And the Giants are going to have a pitcher who we don't know how long he's going to last.
Right.
His first start in 18 months. So I play this game to go over the total.
Do you know the line on that one?
8.5 was the total on the game. That was the opener.
Oh, okay. So that's actually a pretty low number.
It's not bad because
I think it's because the Giants Park is not a place where people normally
and not only
hit a lot
that,
of
these
home
aren't the
runs.
two most powerful hitting teams in
Right.
baseball either. So, but they can score runs for sure. They're major leaguers, and I expect
Well,
I
that could only
anticipate it
be
going
a
over.
5-4 ball game, which
Why
is
not?
not a high-scoring game.
But that makes us a winner.
Right. So, all right, taking the under in that one. Let's recap our other picks. Taking the Diamondbacks over the Mets, correct?
We're going to take the Diamondbacks, and the price, I think we're getting great value there.
Right.
The inconsistency of Zach Wheeler, and Gellin has been pitching so well for Arizona. You might as well go with the hot arm. I mean, right? You go with the hot bats, you go with the hot arm.
Well, and you get some value, too.
Yeah, and you know, the Mets really inconsistent of late after they had that big streak.
Right.
And their relief pitching has been atrocious all year. They've blown
I know.
more games. Diaz blows games when they get 8-point leads, and it just doesn't seem to matter.
I know their closer situation all year has been chaotic. It just seems like they can't find anybody to close that door. And it's really frustrating when you have pitchers that are doing, you know, the Mets have a strong rotation.
Yeah, it's true, but the problem with it, I mean, it did have an excellent rotation. Their defense isn't as strong. When you've got pitching like that, you have to have strength up the middle defensively.
Right.
And they're a little vulnerable at shortstop, and they have an inconsistency in who's playing second base, and with Cano being in and out.
Yeah.
So, you know, they can play Lagares in center field, or to play these outfielders, and they're hitting 190.
Yeah,
so the Mets
all right,
have
I
issues.
got to cut you off.
Okay, darling.
We get carried away when we talk about baseball. Well, when we come back, college football and NFL on Picks and Parlays Radio.
The blue pill to charge your sex life? Have you been thinking about trying the blue pill? What if we can promise you the same results for less than $3 a pill? If you're paying $20 a pill for the other pills, you're getting taken to the cleaners. Our pill delivers the exact same results for less than $3. We'll do the math for you. You'll save more than $16 a pill for the same results. Want more? We'll give you 40 blue pills or 40 yellow pills for $99 and add 4 more pills free. You save more than $500. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know what to do next. You need to call and get your 44 pills for just $99. Stop overpaying for the other blue pills. Call us and start saving a ton of money for the exact same results. Ordering is fast and easy with your pills delivered to your door in a non-marked package. 800-223-0992. 800-223-0992. 800-223-0992. That's 800-223-0992. It has been said that everyone has a book in them. But do you have the time or the ability to write your book? Maybe you picked up some skills or had a life experience that you want to pass on in the form of a book to help others. Maybe you want to leave an autobiography for your family. Or maybe you've built a successful business and you want to share your story. At Dorrance Publishing Company, we have professional writers who can help turn your book idea into a finished manuscript quickly and affordably. A Dorrance ghostwriter can provide as much or as little help as you need to complete your book. You'll work directly with your ghostwriter to finish your book faster than you ever could on your own. It's easy to become a published author. Call Dorrance now to learn more.
800-485-6003. 800-485-6003. 800-485-6003. Call right now. That number is 800-485-6003.
Not too long ago, it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank, didn't it? For a vacation or a new car. But today, withdrawing your own cash has become risky. Pat Boone here for Swiss America. According to The Secret War, a new Swiss America white paper, I learned that all banks are now required to spy on you and me for the government, and then report any financial behavior deemed suspicious or unusual. You must read The Secret War. It's free. Truth is, I believe the government's new war against cash is really a war against us all. But the secret is now out. So please, get and read The Secret War.
Pick up your phone and call right now. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. Once again, that's 800-932-5517.
And welcome back to Picks and Parlays Radio here on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network. I am your host, Chelsa Messinger. You can find me here every day, 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern, and also on Twitter. My handle is just my name, at Chelsa Messinger. And also check out Picks and Parlays on all of your favorite social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. If you search Picks and Parlays, we're really easy to find. All right, let's move on because it's football season and NFL is in full swing after wrapping up week 1. We've got Joe Duffy joining us from, I believe, Georgia. Joe, how'd week 1 go for you?
Week 1 was quite interesting. College football, I wound up having Colorado, Nebraska under the total. It was on pace to go well under, and it went over, and I'm superstitious, and that began a mini slump. But we turned it around with some late stuff, including a nice Monday night. So we're still overall doing quite well in the NFL, especially going back to the preseason. But it was a crazy week of some highs and some lows, but you know, long-term, definitely a lot of highs.
So you did well last night. You might be one of the few people.
I had the under. Well, no, I only had one play last night. I didn't go too crazy. I had the under of the Raiders game, and to say the least, again, when it looked like it was an easy under at the end of the third, I can't remember exactly what the score was at the end of. There were only 30 points or 20 points scored after 3, and if I had the over, I would have turned the game off. But the way things have been going for me, I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be a sweat, even if I win. And of course, I did have to sweat it at the end, but there's an old adage: it's no fun if you don't have to sweat it.
Right. We saw a few of those games, but there were plenty of really interesting games in week 1 where a lot of people were sweating and a lot of people were losing. Let's move on to week 2. Let's start with the Bucs and the Panthers. The Panthers, if you look at the numbers, it was a 30-27 loss to the Rams, which actually doesn't look that bad on paper, but the Rams, I think they dominated that game. I actually watched that game because my husband's a Panthers fan. And then the Bucs, conversely, a 31-17 loss to the 49ers, where Jameis Winston, his decision-making has been tough as of late. A couple interceptions in that one. First thoughts on this one. What's the line and the total in this one?
Yeah, the Panthers are laying 6.5 and 49.5. And you're right. I was at a sports bar. I did see the end of that Panthers game myself. And yeah, they definitely made it look a lot closer than it actually was. They lost the game fairly soundly there. And, I don't want to totally contradict you there, Chelsea. Jameis Winston hasn't just been making bad decisions lately. He's been making bad decisions for quite a few years. And of course,
well, you get off the field especially.
Right. And I think that's very relevant, because Bruce Arians was brought in. He decided to come out of retirement because he felt he could work with a guy who's obviously enormously talented and an underachiever. But I think his ego, Arians' ego, that is missing the point, and maybe even Tampa to hire Bruce Arians. I think Jameis clearly needs a life coach. I mean, get Tony Dungy. He doesn't want to coach anymore. Hire him as a life coach, kind of like the Cowboys did a couple years ago with Calvin Hill, or there's any one of a number of guys that I think could really just work with him. And I don't think his problem has anything to do with mechanics or, so much the decision-making on the field, that he just has to decide he wants to focus more on football. So, yes, I do think the fact that his off-the-field problems have been a clear issue means that that Tampa is addressing, I think, the wrong problem. But anyway, when you have two quarterbacks, so Cam Newton, it's interesting. He's had his share of shoulder problems. He's changed his mechanics to try to get easier on his shoulder. And, that's going to be a little bit a work in progress. So now you're talking about your husband. He's a pitcher, is he not?
Correct.
Right. And I'm sure he'll be the first to tell you, if you've got to change your mechanics, there's going to be an adjustment period there, whether you're a pitcher or whether you're a quarterback. So there are some definite question marks about both of these quarterbacks. And I do think that Newton, his rehabilitating and trying to learn, some new mechanics, that's going to be very much a work in progress. Now,
well, Carolina, it seems like the biggest part of their offense is Christian McCaffrey. Holy smokes. If you watch that game, the Panthers are in trouble if McCaffrey gets hurt, because he seems to be 90% of their offense, which usually when you're talking about the most important offensive player on the field, it's usually your quarterback. But McCaffrey, man, I think he's going to have 1,000 yards rushing and receiving this season. I think he's going to be a big factor against the Bucs here. The only thing I worry about is, you said they're getting 7 points?
6.5, but yeah, there is some varied juice. You could get 7 with varying juice, but 6.5 is the predominant
Because those
line.
garbage time touchdowns, man, those scare me. Like you mentioned, sweating at the end of the game when these teams get a lot of points, that's what worries me.
Yeah, and that gets to the bigger picture, handicapping picture, where a lot of my systems are on unders, and I'll do a spoiler alert. My pick is going to be on the under here, but I call it the psychological juice. Unders are so hard to root for because when you lose a heartbreaking total where half of the points are scored in the fourth quarter, more than half of the points, it rips your heart out. And some people hate to bet unders because it's so painful to lose unders sometimes. It's also just tough to root for a low-scoring game, but that's why most of the best systems, or there's more good systems that favor the under than favor the over, and such is the case here. And, you know, among them, and I know we don't have that much time, maybe we got to move on to other games, but the total points scored would imply that this total is too low. I have a counterintuitive system that says quite the opposite, that if the numbers imply that it should be higher, go with what the odds makers are telling you. The under angle is 14.28, 11.86, and 55. So my pick on this game is to go with the under.
The under in the Bucks and Panthers game. You're right, we do need to surge ahead. Let's go to the 49ers and the Bengals. The 49ers are coming off a 31-17 win over the Bucks. The Bengals covered a big spread in a 21-20 loss on the road to the Seahawks. I know a lot of people lost some money on that game. Thoughts on this one? What's the total and what's the spread?
Yeah, the Bengals are laying one, a total of 45, and yeah, both of these teams played late last week. So when I was at the sports bar, I got to watch both of these teams, I should say, pretty closely. Now, when one team has a better record and the other team has substantially more total yards on offense, the team with the more yards is 47, 22, and 1. Now, I know, Chelsea, you might be saying, wait a minute, you're talking about a one-game sample size, but that's the point. Too many gamblers overreact to what this is. Overreaction Sunday, overreaction week in the NFL. Too many people are going to overreact, and yes, that angle very much applies in week 2 of the year. In fact, it's 14-6 in week 2 of the year. Another one says that go with the better yards per play team is 112-78, 66.7%. If we're betting on the team with the worst record. Look, there's some question marks. Is A.J. Green going to play for the Bengals? I think not. Looks like Joe Mixon, who got banged up, nice physical running back, still a guy with a big upside. He got an MRI on his ankle, turned out positive. I think he is going to play. Small undefeated road underdogs against winless teams are 15-4-1 since 1991. That would favor San Francisco. Still, at the end of the day, I have a few more metrics that go with the Bengals, and I was pretty impressed. Look, I'm not all of a sudden becoming an Andy Dalton fanatic, but the fact that they were using a much safer passes with Dalton, very efficient offense. Zach Taylor, we know he's a Sean McVay disciple, but I think he was building his system into the strengths of Andy Dalton, and that's what they were doing. They were doing some safe passes, and then that was softening up the defense, and then they throw deep. What an incredible play calling game it was for the Bengals. I'm not ready to say this is Andy Dalton's breakout year, but I do think I want to ride the honeymoon period for the time being, and the Bengals are my play here.
Well, and the Bengals were good to start the season last year before all those injuries. So not the craziest thing. Yeah, A.J. Green's out, but they still have some other pieces if they can stay healthy. Let's move on to the Chargers and the Lions. Chargers coming off a 32-24 win over the Colts. The Lions coming off a tie, 27-27 to the Cardinals. And that shouldn't have been a tie. The Lions, I don't know how much they were leading by, but they were up by a lot, and Kyler Murray somehow staged a comeback for the Cardinals that ended in a tie. What's the spread in this game in the total?
Now, the Chargers are laying at 2.5, although it's with some juice, minus 120. So in some places, they'd be laying 3, but you'd be getting back some juice, and the total's 47. Yeah, my instincts, I always like to say predictably unpredictable quarterbacks. And when I think of predictably unpredictable quarterbacks, guys who can look like second stringers one week and MVP candidates the next week, both of these quarterbacks come to mind. They might be the first two guys that come to mind in the cases of Rivers and Stafford. So when you're talking about a 2.5 or a 3-point road favorite, that's a fairly significant dog. And usually when I got predictably unpredictable, I lean towards the underdog, but not necessarily here. What you mentioned is true. I'm not as big of a situational guy in the NFL as I am in college football. Still, the Lions were crushing. I think they had at least a 15-point lead. They were crushing one of the worst teams in the league, maybe the worst team outside of Miami in the league, and they wound up going to overtime and, of course, tying that game. So I can see how that game was a little bit mentally exhausting. As I said, maybe not in the NFL. I wouldn't put as much stock as I would in something like college football. The Lions they're committed to the run. They had very little success. Kerryon Johnson and C.J. Anderson, they combined for only 84 yards rushing and 27 carries, but I still think they're going to stick to the game plan. That counterintuitive totals angle I told you about still applies here to the under, so my play here is under the 47.
47 and under in the Lions and Chargers game. And that one's in Detroit?
Yes, that game is in Detroit, correct.
Right, because the Chargers, I mean, they were supposed to whoop up on the Colts. I don't know if that's because people underestimated the Colts or if the Chargers are, not that great. But that's our NFL picks. Thanks, Joe Duffy, for joining us. As always, some great stats and info. When we get back from the break, we're talking college football and maybe some different factors, as you were mentioning, when betting some of those games. We'll be back after the break on Picks and Parlays Radio.
Annual sale is officially on. You now have the rare chance to get the latest Dell and Alienware computers with Intel Core processors at 17% off. A discount usually reserved just for Dell employees. Shop a wide selection of leading-edge Dell and Alienware monitors and more, all with free shipping. Call 800-BUY-DELL or go to Dell.com/semi-annual sale to enjoy huge limited-time employee savings. That's 800-BUY-DELL.
At 28, I had struggled with opiate and meth addiction for 12 years. I did and said things that the sober me never would have done. One day I realized I was not invincible. I was not exempt. And that's when a friend told me about elite rehab placement. They gave me the tools I needed to get sober, and all it took was the one phone call.
Elite Rehab can help you start to break your addiction problem and get sober in as little as 7 days. And we'll work with your insurance provider to help cover the costs. Plus, we have travel assistance programs to get you here by plane or train. Make this free call right now to learn more. 800-403-5912. 800-403-5912. 800-403-5912. That's 800-403-5912.
Attention to anyone that's written a book or wants to write a book. The process is not that complicated. Take a first step. Even if you write a page a day, you'll build momentum and your book will become a reality. The hard part is getting it published. That's when you need to call Page Publishing. They've got hundreds and hundreds of thank yous from different new authors, just like you. They make the process of publishing your new book and getting it sold online a simple process. You can learn how simple it is right now by calling for your free Page Publishing New Author Submission Kit. One quick 3-minute phone call, that's all it takes to get free information and learn how you can get your book published. Pick up your phone right now and call us 24 hours a day at this number. 800-603-0885. 800-603-0885. 800-603-0885. That's 800-603-0885.
Hey, Mike, how's the house coming along?
Needs a ton of work. The pipes are leaking. Needs a new roof. The AC just broke. I just don't have time to do it all myself. You know anyone?
Oh, just ask Home Advisor. They match you with the best local pros for any home project.
Cool.
Yeah, you can read reviews and book appointments online.
What's it cost?
Actually, Home Advisor is always free to use.
Nice. I'll check it out.
Go to homeadvisor.com or download the free app.
Home Advisor.
Welcome back to Picks and Parlays Radio here on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network. I am your host, Chelsa Messinger. You can find me here every day at 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern. And also, don't forget, we have a nice little YouTube page with all kinds of previews for games. So if we don't talk about something on the radio or the show, never fear. It's probably on our YouTube page. So if you want to bet any other games, don't worry. We've got you covered. Right now, let's get to college football. It is week 3. College football is rolling right along. Before you know it, it's going to be playoff season. We've got Craig Trapp joining us. Hello, Craig. And how did week 1 go? Or week 2, excuse me. How did week 2 go for you?
Well, it's been a great start to college football, 9-3 run. So cross my fingers, it continues. Last weekend, 2-1. I really didn't have a huge amount of games last weekend, but really excited about the games this weekend. I have 3 for sure and probably 4 top plays this week.
Right. We don't have any top 25 matchups this week, but that's not to say there aren't going to be good football games on. We've got 2 rivalry games, but let's start with North Carolina, Wake Forest. These are 2 teams that have kind of surprised people. North Carolina in general, first off beating South Carolina, and then that close game with Miami, which I lost some money on because I like to bet against North Carolina because I went to NC State and I hate the Tar Heels. But emotions aside, what's the spread and the total in this UNC Wake game?
Interesting. This is the Thursday night game, the featured really Thursday night game. I'm sorry, Friday. No Thursday games again this week, but the Friday night game. UNC at Wake. We see Wake as a 3-point favorite right now. That line opened at 3.5, so it was actually bet down. And the total at 64.5 when it opened. Now it's all the way up to 67. Looks like a lot of people think UNC is going to keep up the scoring, and Wake's going to pour on some points here too.
Right. Wake Forest, they seem to have a better offense than they have in the past. What did you say the line for the over-under was?
67.5 right now.
Oh, wow. That's
a lot
high.
Of points.
Right?
That is a whole lot of points. Well, but you're coming a Wake Forest team that's coming off of 41 and 38, and even in the bowl game last year put up 37, and then the game before that they put up 59 at Duke. Now, granted, this team isn't exactly the same, but a lot of the same scheme here, and I think Newman continues to put up points. 6 TDs and 0 interceptions so far.
Right, that's a great completion percentage. Obviously, you know, those are stats you like to have. When it comes to North Carolina, do you think they have another win in their, well, I guess, do you think they can cover, at least, in this Wake game?
I think either North Carolina wins outright and pulls another upset, or they get blown out. I just don't think they're going to be able to probably score with Wake at the phonetic points that Wake can put up. So I think Wake, if you think this one goes over, I think you got to play Wake. I think if you think it goes under, maybe you put it with UNC. I just think that's the way this game's going to go. North Carolina needs to keep it a little lower scoring, and I think they're going to be hard pressed to do that. I just think this Wake Forest team at home is a pretty good play here tonight.
So you're taking Wake?
Yeah, I'm going to take Wake minus the 3. I just think Wake is at home is a better scoring team, and I like this at 3. That 3.5 always makes me nervous because you just see so many games in college football end by a field goal. So right. I like that it's been bet down. If you're going to bet this game, it's Tuesday when we're doing this video, I would bet it now at 3 because, you know, a lot of times we see the money come in for the favorite right before game time.
All right, let's move on to Pitt and Penn State. This is a rivalry game. Although it's been very lopsided in the past 2 years, Penn State has outscored Pitt 84-20 in their past 2 meetings, including that 51-6 drubbing last season. James Franklin having no mercy for the Pitt Panthers. What's the spread and the total in this one?
The spread is 17. It opened at 17, still at 17. The total opened at 54, and it's still at 54 at most spots. I do see a few 53.5s, like a Caesar Sportsbook, but most of the places still at 54. So I would think this one will get a lot of action. I would think Penn State will probably end up going off maybe more than 17. I just think Penn State has been very impressive, and you know Pitt has not been so impressive so far, and I think that will be shown in the betting in this one. And you know this historically has not been good for Pitt. I mean, the last 2 years, at least, let's say 33-14 and 51-6 the last 2 years. And I think it's another Penn State one-sided game. I think 17 points is a little much, so we're going to be looking at the total in this one as our free play.
Well, in Penn State, wasn't that the game against Buffalo where they were favored by a ton and they somehow ended up managing to cover?
Yes, 45-13 they won, but going into the fourth quarter, it did not look like they were going to cover that 31.5-point line, but did pull off a miracle cover for if you were laying the big number with Penn State against Buffalo at home last week.
Right, that one was crazy because I remember looking at the score and thinking, oh man, Buffalo, or they weren't even supposed to be in it, and Penn State somehow came back and covered that enormous spread. So do you see that happening maybe in this game? I know you mentioned looking at the total, but if you were betting just these two teams, do you see any way that Penn State covers that? Because I will say, we see coaching personalities sometimes make a difference, and I think James Franklin is one of those guys that does not mind running up the score, especially when it comes to a rival.
When you're playing a rival, you either have ultimate respect and you maybe run it into the line and punt at the end of the game. Kind of like we saw the New England Patriots, I think, did to the Steelers. They're like, maybe we'll play this team down the road in the playoffs. We don't need to show anything more. I think this is not that type of coach. I think Penn State and James Franklin likes to pour it on. They did it last year. I think they could do it again this year. I do think they cover the 17 points, but I think the better play is the over. I just think Penn State's offense on a roll right now. 45 points last week, 79 points against Idaho in the opening one. Last year they scored 51 points in this one. So a couple years back, 3 years back, they head-to-head they scored 39. So that game was 42-39. 2 of the last 3 years have gone over in this matchup. I think it's 3 in a row. I think Pitt scores 40+ and easily pushes this one over the total of 54.
You think Pitt scores 40+?
I'm sorry, Penn State. Penn State scores 40+.
I was like, wow.
Yeah, sorry.
Expecting 100?
No, Sean Clifford. He's been great. I mean, I kind of thought they might have a letdown off of, but their quarterback play continues to be great after McSorley left. And I think Sean Clifford, 6 TDs, 0 interceptions, of course, a big step up in competition this week, but I do think he'll continue to be good. I think Penn State can score and score in bunches. I think Pitt will do their part. They're definitely not getting 40. I did misspeak on that. Penn State gets 40. Pitt, I think, scores in the low 20s, and I think that pushes this one well over the total.
All right, let's move on to Iowa and Iowa State. This one is another huge rivalry game, and I believe the spread is nowhere near 17 in this one because it's supposed to be a lot closer of a game. Even though Iowa State did not look fairly impressive in their first game of the season, 29-26, and it took 3 overtimes to beat Northern Iowa, and then they had a bye week, which, coming off a bye week, normally the theory would be they have extra time to prepare, but they had the whole offseason to prepare for Northern Iowa, and we saw how that turned out. So it makes me not have a whole lot of faith in Iowa State, even though they were one of those teams that a lot of people talked about as being dark horse contenders in their division. Iowa, meanwhile, normally a powerhouse, and they have beaten Iowa State, I believe, last year. And I think as far as the rivalry goes, it's mostly Iowa. What are you seeing in this one?
Well, interesting, this line opened. Obviously, game day is going to be there for ESPN this week. So add a little extra fuel to what will already be a huge matchup. And like you said, in this rivalry, Iowa State opened as a 3-point favorite with the total at 46.5. Now Iowa State is a 2.5-point underdog. So we've seen almost a 6-point line movement. That is huge. You don't see that very often. And the total in this one went from 46.5 to 44.5. I think that tells you how impressive Iowa has played so far. Their defense has been really, really good. And I think it also speaks to, like you said, when Iowa State struggled in the opening game against in-state rival Northern Iowa.
Right. And to start the season, Iowa State was ranked in the top 25. That is no longer the case. And although they have not had another game to prove themselves, I think that shows you when it comes to the AP voters where their faith lies in Iowa State. So what's your play in this one?
Well, first of all, when you look at last year, Iowa won 13-3. Remember the year before was that really exciting Iowa win, 44-41. And then the year before, Iowa won 42-3. So we've seen Iowa win the last 3 matchups, but two of them have been pretty close, one blowout. I hate having a home dog betting against them, but I have to take Iowa here. I just think Iowa's defense has been out of this world, and I think that's going to dominate just like it did last year. And obviously, it'll be a little tougher on the road, but I think Iowa, with Nate Stanley at quarterback, will do plenty here to get this win and to make it forced. Well, actually, more than that, this will be the 5 in a row that they won in this series.
Right. Iowa traditionally has had a tough defense, and didn't you say last year it was a low-scoring affair?
Yeah, 13-3 last year. Also, they covered. That spread was 3.5. They've actually covered Iowa 3 of the last 4 years. They're 3-1 against the spread. I think this year they make it 4-1, and I think Iowa's that team this year. I think in the Big Ten that might be the team that could pull the upset of Ohio State. After looking at, I guess maybe Penn State, but after looking at Michigan, I don't think that's happening this year. I think this team is maybe the only team that could do so with a great defense.
What'd you think of that Michigan game?
Oh.
I bet Ohio State fans,
so
I know you're not an Ohio State fan, but I'm sure Ohio State fans really were invested in that game.
You can't put too much stock in these early games, but when you almost lose to Army at home, I think if you're any team in the Big Ten, I think you have to you put up the "oh no, not again" type thing, and Jim Harbaugh might be on the hot seat. But Iowa, just the opposite. I think Iowa is way better than I thought. Last week, I kind of thought Rutgers had a chance to cover there. It was a big number. Not the case. Iowa shut them out, and that defense, I think, continues to flex this week, even though it's a rivalry game. I think they third straight week where they hold their foe under 14, which first week they held Miami to 14 points too.
Right. Who do you think is your favorite for the Big Ten so far after, 2 weeks?
I mean, obviously you have to go with Ohio State, but I would say Wisconsin on the other side. I think they're not. I think they're going to be tough. I think this Iowa team is going to be good, and I think we're going to see this week Penn State because they haven't faced anybody yet. If Penn State can do what they did the first 2 weeks against, I think not a terrible team. They're not great, but I think they're at least a power conference team, and I think if they do that this week, you'd have to consider Penn State a kind of a worry for Ohio State.
Right. I wanted to doubt Ohio State just because Justin Fields is a new quarterback, and you never know what you're going to get with a new quarterback, a new head coach. But, man, have they looked impressive. And then Michigan was supposed to be the team that everybody thought could challenge for them. But Jim Harbaugh, man, is he overrated? Yeah. Is that fair to say?
Well,
this early in the season?
I have a friend that will say that Jim Harbaugh is the most overrated coach in football, both NFL and college football. I don't quite think maybe go that far, but I do think Jim Harbaugh has not won a big game since he's been at Michigan, not only against Ohio State, but the bowl games. I mean, they're just getting demolished in bowl games. And of course, obviously, Michigan goes to a big bowl every year. So it's like, it's harder to argue year in, year out. If he loses this year, I think you got to move on. I hate to say that,
right.
But I think
he's a big name, but I think he gets more credit just because of his name, and he really hasn't proven anything, like you said, since being at Michigan. And that's going to put a bow on our college football talk. We are back after the break on Picks and Parlays Radio with all of our picks, a nice little recap if you haven't been paying attention. We're back after the break on Picks and Parlays.
Travelers, do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call, because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously low prices. Our prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip, or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find ridiculously low prices for you. Call SmartFares today and get the best price on your next flight. Guaranteed. Also, save up to 50% off business and first-class tickets.
855-325-1780. 855-325-1780. That's 855-325-1780.
Attention business owners. Are you struggling while waiting for your customers to pay on their net 30, 60, or 90-day invoices? Can't get a business loan? Have no equity? Bad credit? Or maybe no credit at all? Then you need to call AmeriFactors right now. AmeriFactors will give you cash for your invoices and there's nothing to pay back. We simply buy your account receivables, and if those clients don't pay on the invoices, we take the loss. We give you funds based on your account receivables, not your credit, and 98% of all applicants are approved. It's that simple. With AmeriFactors, there's no more waiting for your customers to pay. We give you the funds up front, then we wait for your customers to pay us. Fund your business today. Call AmeriFactors right now.
800-847-1183. 800-847-1183. 800-847-1183. That's 800-847-1183.
Are you an active stock market investor? Well, then you know these three key words: buy, sell, hold. Those three magic words can make or lose you money in the stock market. What if we can show you a time-tested tool that's been helping stock market investors succeed for over 30 years? It's called VectorVest, an amazing system designed to make smart investing easy. The VectorVest system analyzes, sorts, and ranks over 19,000 stocks every day and tells you when to buy, what to buy, and when to sell any stock to maximize your profits in less than 10 minutes a day. And if you call right now, you can test drive our amazing VectorVest system risk-free for 30 days for just $9.95.
800-584-2519. 800-584-2519. 800-584-2519. That's 800-584-2519.
And welcome back to Picks and Parlays Radio here on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network, and also streaming live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We have not forgotten about you guys watching and joining us that way, because we do stream the show live every weekday, 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern. If you want to see the faces behind the voices, we're there in that capacity as well. And also, you know what? It's been a great show. We had plenty to cover, even though it's a Tuesday, and even though there's not football on tonight, there's still baseball on. And let's recap our daily baseball picks with Chip Chirimbus. We had 3 games on slate today, and here are our picks. Atlanta at Philadelphia. We're taking the Braves despite being big favorites, 165 on that one. But Atlanta, their lineup has been really hot, and as a team, as a whole, they've been really good since the All-Star break. Arizona at the New York Mets, taking Arizona in this one plus 125 because Zach Gallen has been really good for the Diamondbacks on the mound. Pittsburgh at San Francisco, taking the over in that one. Johnny Cueto back on the mound for the Giants for the first time in a year and a half. Should be interesting to watch. Moving on to our NFL picks with Joe Duffy. Bucks at Panthers, taking the under in that one. 49.5 is the over-under. 49ers at Bengals, taking the Bengals -1. Chargers at Lions, taking the under at 47. And finally, college football, week 3 with Craig Trapp. UNC at Wake Forest, that ACC matchup, taking Wake at -3. Pitt at Penn State, taking the over to hit 54 in that rivalry game. Iowa and Iowa State, another big rivalry matchup, taking Iowa to win that one, or at least cover -2.5. Those are all of our picks for the day. And as always, we'll see you back here tomorrow at the same time, 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern. Bet, win, repeat. We're back tomorrow on Picks and Parlays Radio.